Hello everybody, in this video we're going to be using a new product, a relatively new product called sticky embossing powder, and I'm using it with my bracket stamps collection, really because it's quite a chunkier font in the stamps, so you get a really good result when you use the sticky embossing powder with it. You'll also notice that I've got gilding flakes onto my stamped sentiment. I'll be showing you how to do that in a second. Okay, so this time we're going to be using the bracket collection stamps, my new bracket collection, with sticky embossing powder. Now, sticky embossing powder might be something that you've not seen before, and I've specifically chosen the bracket collection stamps because it's a slightly plainer font. It's a bit more masculine, I suppose you could say, but it works really well with any kind of heat embossing technique, especially with the sticky embossing powder. So we're actually going to use Gilding Flakes on these sentiments, which is something that you probably wouldn't have done before unless you use the glue. So as I'm just flicking through this, I'm showing you the full range of the bracket collection. So you'll notice that obviously brackets are the main feature of this collection. So it takes it from being very flourishy, like the rest of my stamps mainly are, to something a little bit, let's get that the right way, to something a little bit more kind of generic, I suppose is the right way. I hate that term when we say it's a masculine set or a feminine set. It's kind of what you want it to be. But when I originally designed these, I wanted something that was plainer. That's probably a good way of putting it. So you've got a full collection in there, excuse me. You've got the full collection in there. You've got the alphabet. You've also got these gorgeous border ones as well. So if you're a scrapbooker, these are invaluable because you can use them on your scrap pages. But as a card maker, again, you've got a really more generic, plainer font, which then gives you lots of scope for using it for different people as well. It's like teenage boys. How many teenage boys would want probably a flourishy, swirly butterfly font? But the bracket collection will work really well. So I'll just show you again where we're going to get to. So sticky embossing powder is one of Creative Expression's newer products. I absolutely love it. So for me, as a stamper, first and foremost, it's meant that I can now use my stamps, my verse stamps, with the sticky embossing powder, and I can actually gild them with ease. So the older way of using Gilding Flakes on a sentiment would be to use the glue, the specialised glue that you're supposed to use with Gilding Flakes, which for me, when I tried it the first time, was just so gloopy. I thought, I'm never doing that again, it's just too messy. And I thought, well, I'll try that. I'll try it with the sticky embossing powder and see what happens, and it works amazingly. If you've not got a really detailed font, I think is the key. So we'll do that bit first. This will be a relatively quick video for me compared to some of my others, but I just want to show you how fabulous this product is. So I've got my sticky embossing powder in a tub, as you would expect. You need to treat it in exactly the same way as you would a detail embossing powder from Cosmic Shimmer. But just don't overheat it. So anti-static bag. I'm using the graphite pearlescent foundations card as well, because it really makes the Gilding Flakes stand out. So I've got one of my verses. This is one of my verses. You can see how many times I've used these from the colour of it. You know, I don't do dirty stamps, but this has been used and used and used. Put that back on there. So this is a full verse as opposed to one of the sentiments. I've used my anti-static bag and I'm going to stamp that as I would do normally with my perfect medium. Got a bit of glitter on there, let's get that off. Got a bit on there as well. You can tell I've been doing lots of glitter jewels. And just give that a good coverage. And then we can stamp that straight into the middle. So one of the reasons I love the bracket collection is that it's so easy to line up, because you've got the brackets on either side. Remember, you need your stamping mat underneath. This is how you'll see me work all the time, whether I'm in my shop, at a workshop, or here. So let's pop the sticky embossing powder on top. So I'll just draw your attention to a couple of things before I heat this up. If you use our true white embossing powder, it looks very similar. This is how new the sticky embossing powder is. I haven't even labelled my tub yet, but I do know it's a different shade of white to my true white, which is labelled. So that's one thing I do need to draw your attention to. But secondly, look how detailed it is. So it's picked up all the detail from that font, but bear in mind it is a plainer font. especially because I'm using Gilding Flakes. You don't have to do this with Gilding Flakes. You can use it with the Frosty Dawn glitters as well that we've got, the ultra-fine glitters. Little points to remember while I look for my heat tool is don't overheat this. If you overheat it, it stops being sticky. You'll be able to see on the black when this is heated, you've got little bits of white in there, but it is more or less clear. So I'll just do that and show you. I'm heating from above because I'm going to put Gilding Flakes on. This is how quickly this is changing. It's melted so much quicker than a detail embossing powder. Yeah, that's probably enough. And then I'll just get my Gilding Flakes. So this will stay sticky for a minute or so. Don't take too long with it. Oops, that was lucky that my Gilding Flakes didn't fly everywhere. And I'm just going to do what you would do normally. I'm just going to rub those over with my finger. I'll show you in a second. I just can't lift this pot up, otherwise we'll be, you know the drill with Gilding Flakes. I don't want the room floating with them. I've got my little rub it, scrub it pad in there. I'm just going to rub off the excess, only gently. I'm not rubbing too hard. Oops, I'm just taking the excess off. Oh, that's absolutely beautiful. Just pop that back in there. I'm going to leave that there for a second because I'm going to come back to it, but I just want you to have a look at that. Now, you've seen how quick that was. You saw how easy that was. So we've now taken one of my verse stamps to a completely different level, because I would never use the flake and glitter glue on my stamps because I'm a little bit too precious about them. I like them to be kept nice and clean, but I can now with the sticky embossing powder. So a little tip, tumble dryer sheet, just rub off the excess around the edge. And it will also obviously bling up and make your sentiment stand out even more. So there we are again. I'll just show you again. Oops, now I've tidied it up a little bit. It's gorgeous. Yeah. And I'm going to pop that to one side and show you something else to do with them. And now I'm covered in Gilding Flakes, but it's a very pretty look for me. So on the original card, I'll just quickly bring you back to this. You can see that I've actually got Gilding Flakes on the daisies as well, the daisy dies, the open petal daisies. And again, this is something that if you were trying to use an adhesive sheet, would probably be too chunky because these are quite delicate flowers. If you were trying to do it with the glue, for me personally, it would be too messy and I just would never do it again. Comes along sticky embossing powder and away we go. So die cut daisy, just plain white card, nothing special about it. Push it into the perfect medium. I will just mention, if you've got a darker colour card, it's easier to see when the powder's melted, because obviously it only takes a few seconds. But I'm being tested to the limits today with white card and white powder. This should be fun. So you can overheat it, is what I'm trying to say to you, just literally until it changes colour, which is fab when you can see the colour. So just cover that with powder. There we go. And then, oops, and then take that out. Just tap off the excess because we don't want it everywhere. This is why I love embossing, whether it's detail embossing, sticky embossing powder, my own pearlescent mica-based powders, heat tool, pokey tool, and I'm just going to do that. Hold that in the centre and melt. So although I said you can't see this, you can actually see that you've got the little grains on there. Oops, that will kind of go clear and transparent and a little bit glossy, so I know that it's melted. There we go. You can see that. So just work, oops, come back. I think that's probably enough, and hopefully I've done all petals, being as it's spun around. You can actually see that this is still quite tacky, and then we'll try and, actually I think I've missed a bit in the middle. Let's just give it another going over. Oh, not next to the gilding polish. That's it. Pop that on there. So it's just exactly the same technique. Okay, so once you've covered this in your fabulous Gilding Flakes, just give it a rub. Oh, marvellous. Just rub off the excess with your rub it, scrub it, and there you go. One absolutely gorgeous gilded daisy. And it's so easy to do, especially when you're using fine dyes like I've used there, like with the daisies, particularly because it's the open petal. So remember, you can do that with any of your dyes now. So all those gorgeous frames you've got, my sentiment dyes, my From the Heart collection dyes, you'll be able to use with any of those, and it just again takes them to a completely different level. So let's get this card put together. So I've used, this is the Icicle Foundations Pearl card, matted onto some graphite pearl foundation card, and then just matted again onto another Icicle there. I've used, and please, I'm so sorry, I can't remember which noble it is, but it's one of the ornate noble rectangles I think I've used on there. And underneath is the same Gilding Flakes that I've used with the daisies, but I've just cut it from and used it with an adhesive sheet and covered the whole thing. And the reason I've covered the whole thing, as opposed to missing that centre bit out, is because this is going on foam tape, and I actually want you to be able to see the bits from underneath. So let's get this layered together. So I'm just going to move this heat tool. So one of my pet hates is when you gut things, I suppose they call it, and you can actually see the gaps from underneath. I just can't do that. I'd rather cover the whole thing, and just on the off chance that somebody sees it, I'd rather it be finished. So let's pop that together, pop that in the bin, pop a little bit of glue on this, just because I know I've got an embossing folder on there. A little bit more, that's it. Pop that straight in the centre. I'm using the pattern from the Treasure Box embossing folder, and I'm going to put some foam tape on there. And this is what I mean about making that little bit of extra effort to cover the whole middle up, as opposed to leaving it bare. Take off this. Clean my pokey tool. Take that off. Come on. I told you, every video, every demo on TV, there's a dodgy bit of foam tape not doing as it's told. And this time I don't need to put any glue on there, because I'm going straight onto the gilding. But do you see what I mean about that? So although I'm putting this on foam tape, you can still see a little bit of the edge from underneath, and I want you to be able to see. So if you're looking from an angle, you'll see that. And then we'll just finish off with a couple of the daisies. So what I've done is I've cut 6 of the daisies, and I've gilded, sticky embossed and gilded 3 of them, and I've left 3 of them plain black. So let's pop this in the centre. This is the quickest way of shaping these. I'll get my tweezers, which I have put this side. A little bit of glue in the middle. And straight on my card. Because we've used the Gilding Flakes, you don't actually need loads of embellishments on this kind of project. The Gilding Flakes kind of do all the work for you. So we'll do the same again. So even though these have got the Gilding Flakes on top, just shape that up and put that straight onto your card. Put that underneath. And I'll do a smaller one. Just be careful when you are bending the petals up on these open daisies, because we've all done it, we've snapped a few. So just do it gently. Pop that one underneath. And the opposite. So I've got a black one in the centre, two gilded ones on the edge. This side will be the opposite way on. Oh, I told you. Right, don't panic. Let me show you what to do. Cosmic glue. Hold it in place for a second. I told you it happens to the best of us. Just hold it in place for a second, and it will grab. It will grab. I'll do the others while I'm waiting. There you go. This is why we can never manage without Cosmic Shimmer glue. Put that one there. There you go. And then finish off with the 2 black ones. So now you've seen me snap a daisy, get gilding polish all over my fingers. But I fixed it. Oops, get up. There you go. And then we'll just pop a few pearls in the middle. Bend the right way. And last but not least, a few little pearls in the centre. And I'm using our bigger pearls. These are our 8mm pearls. I'm going to put a little bit of glue in the middle. Just really because they are self-adhesive, but particularly on the ones where I've used the gilding flakes, they can just fall off, and obviously we don't want that. Just get that off. The glue just gives it a little bit of extra backup, if you like. Last 3. Straight in the centre. It's enough. The pearls are enough. There's no glitter jewels on there. There's no glitter on there. The gilding flakes are doing all the work for me. The daisies are doing all the work for me. And there you go. So using my bracket collection stamps, which is absolutely perfect for using with the sticky embossing powder, we have then gilded that with the gilding flakes, used that with the delicate daisies dies, and got a fabulous result there. So hope you've enjoyed that, and now you know how to use sticky embossing powder with my bracket stamps and gilding flakes. And have fun, have a go at this, and I'll see you next time.